Boy, this is a fantastic audience, man. I've never heard a group of people be so quiet and so attentive, you know. I'm a little pissed off, for lack of a better word, because I don't have a visual for you. You know, my technical skills obviously haven't been up to par because everything I've submitted creates problems, right? But I think that a visual for the subject I'm going to talk about, which is mass incarceration and related subject, needs a visual. Because as I look at this audience here, I'm looking at an audience that is diametrically different from the population that I come from. I'm born and raised in Harlem, Harlem Hospital. You know, you don't get no more Harlem than that, right? And I'm up here and I'm looking at this audience, and I come on this campus, and what I see is a community that's completely different than the community I come from, right? And I see people in the audience that don't even look like the people from the Harlem community, you know, for the vast majority, you know, with a few exceptions here and there, right? And then I listened to the presentations. In the presentations, you know, the young man that was on first, Adam Braun, you know, beautiful. I liked the work that he did and what he accomplished, you know, and the principles of self-realization that he expounded on. But he went all the way around the world to build houses. You know, homelessness is rampant right down that hill there. You know, right in the surrounding city, homelessness is rampant. Homelessness, poverty, high unemployment, on every index of misery, the people in these communities of poor people of color are suffering, you know. And it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. But I hear people talking about, you know, and I'm not denigrating anybody, you know, I'm not in no position to do that, you know. The issues that I hear being expressed up here are so foreign and remote from the everyday reality here in America. America is the prison nation. 5% of the world's population has 25% of the world's prisoners, human beings, just like you and me, in cages, you know, for decades, you know, for life, you know, for death. 2.5 million, another 5 million on leashes, you know, under tight control. And this is happening right here in America, and nobody's talking about it. In the presidential debates, I was just talking with my friend here, and she was telling me that prison was not mentioned one time in 3 debates. Huh? We have this horror show going on here in America, and nobody talks about it. You know, the presidential debates is a joke. If I was anywhere else in the world and I was watching that and people were watching that on TV, I would be hiding my head like this. It's about nothing. It's a reality show. It's a game show. Oh, he patted this guy's back more times than the other one did. And, you know, oh, and did you see that expression on his face? You know, these are the talking heads, the experts telling us what we just saw and why it's important. But at the same time, all across this country here, every 36 hours, a black person is murdered by police, security guards, or someone acting as security. Every 36 hours, this is happening. And we pick up the papers every day, routinely, we see this. You know, I mean, it's become so common that we don't even respond to it. You know, oh, yeah, oh, ain't that terrible? But yet, you know, in this environment here, I don't know whether this resonates with this population here. Because all of y'all are being trained to be a part of the machinery that is responsible for this mass incarceration, for this criminalization of a people, man. This system of apartheid that still exists right here in America. You know, that's right. America started this whole apartheid thing. Then South Africa picked it up, then Israel picked it up, you know. But it never changed here. It only transformed itself. And what was happening under the system of old Jim Crow, you know, from 1865 until 1965 or 64, when the passage of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act did away with the legal structures of this system of denial of rights and opportunity and everything else that goes with being American. You know, it just shifted. You know, the prison population was like 300,000 in 1970. All of a sudden now they expanded to 2.5 million. And like I said, another 4 or 5 million under state control. And what happened with those people in those cages? They deprived of the right to vote. They denied access to public housing. They denied Pell Grants, TAP grants, whatever kind of grants, education grants. You know, they're living in the 19th century. And yet we walk around every day as though, you know, hey, this is the most normal thing in the world. Oh, they're criminals. You know, that's the narrative that we're fed every day. You know, these are criminals. You know, we got to get guns off the street. In New York City, last year, close to 700,000 people stopped and frisked. And yet only 10% of those turned out to be charged with anything. For the most part, possession of marijuana, you know, as little as a joint. Now, we know everybody in America smokes. Huh? Everybody in America gets high. You know. And yet, they lock up 50,000 people a year in New York City for this, you know, and marijuana is essentially legal in New York. You can have up to 25 grams? You know, you just can't have it in your pocket. Ain't that silly? You know, I can have alcohol in all my pockets. You know, I can have OxyContin in my pocket, you know, and all the rest of those pharmaceutical drugs, man. Every medicine cabinet in the country is filled with drugs. Yet over 40% of the prison population are locked up for drugs. And we hear that horror show going on down in Mexico. That's the results of our policy, this drug prohibition. The same thing went on in this country with alcohol prohibition, you know. But it affected people like you. So they had to repeal that. And this drug policy thing, this affects mainly people in minority communities. Even though everyone in the population, every group in the population uses drugs in proportion to their numbers in the population. So if whites are 70% of the population, they're using 70% of the drugs. Yet they're not getting locked up for them. You know, this whole criminal justice system has been racialized, right? Just like it started out. It started out in slavery with, you know, patrollers and slave catchers, and the rest of that just morphed into the police departments. And they still practicing the same thing they were practicing then. All right, so you can see I'm very passionate about this here, even so much so that I've become quite a celebrity lately, covered by New York Times, the Daily News, yeah, the Amsterdam News, and New York One, and MSNBC for my activities doing Cop Watch. You know, I started this company, as was said in the introduction, called Still Here Harlem Productions. And the reason I started this company is, you know, I'm a news junkie. And I watch everything, you know. everything that's happening on this planet, I'm interested in it, whether it's below at the bottom of the ocean or at the furthest end of the cosmos. You know, ignorance caused me to wake up like that one day. You know, when I looked around and seen the way the world was constructed, man, everybody had power but me. I had to figure out why this was. You know, so in any event, I started this company with the idea of creating a voice, a point of view from the bottom up, right? A miniature CNN. And I began to cover everything in the Harlem community from the top on down: politics, housing, education, healthcare, police community relationships, youth education. But during the course of doing this, police community relationships became the dominant issue, you know, because everywhere I looked in Harlem, I saw flashing lights. I saw people being pulled over. I seen kids up against the wall, 5, 10 at a time, right? And everywhere, I never saw so many police in my life. Now, I've been to prison, you know. And what I saw was Harlem being turned into an open-air prison. An open-air prison. Yes, that's right down that hill, you know, just blocks away from here, right? So me and my friends began to cover these police interactions. And we built up a good body of work on this here. And we were right in the police face, you know, right there with the camera. Hey, back up, you know, you're too close. All right, you got 15 feet. That's all you're gonna get, right? And we just kept on filming. And so our work began to be viewed by more and more people. And then last year, almost around this time, December 2nd, I was arrested. And I was arrested and charged with possession of a weapon, of a dangerous weapon, you know. And the dangerous weapon was a pocket knife about this big that you can buy in any 99-cent store, in any hardware store in the country. You know, just walk in there and buy one. The whole audience here got up and went out to the 99-cent store. You can all buy a knife like this. And a miniature baseball bat that they give out in every stadium, a commemorative baseball bat that belonged to my wife, you know, that was given to her by her father. And they took me, arrested me, held me 3 days in the 32nd precinct, 3 nights. You know, I have high blood pressure. I'm on medication. They had to take me to the hospital. And they brought me back to the precinct and left me there for 3 days without medication. It took 10 months for them to decide that these charges had no merit. 10 months. But during that 10 months, they never had any idea that this former criminal was so well liked and so well loved by the people in the community. Every time I went to court, there was rallies outside. Then when they went in the courtroom and they called my name, the whole courtroom stood up. You know, I'm Spartacus, I'm Spartacus, you know, yeah. And the judge would be like, and security would be like, you know, and will you please sit down? You know, and they'd keep standing a few more seconds and then they'd sit down. And then we did a petition. 2,500 people signed it from all around the country, all around the world, you know. And letters were flowing into the district attorney's office. His mail stayed full. And then on Tuesdays of every week, we would have call-ins to the district attorney's office. He had to sign a special assistant just to receive the phone calls, you know, because we flooded him with them. And then finally, the district attorney, 2 assistant district attorneys, and 2 of my attorneys gathered together to view the evidence. And they took this weapon of mass destruction out of the bag, this little pocket knife, and they looked at it, and they tried to open it, couldn't open it for 5 minutes. And then when they finally got it open, the screw that held the knife in the case together fell on the floor. You know, I mean, case closed. You know, if that had happened in front of a jury, you know, it would have been ideal. But this happened in front of the district attorneys, and so we expected them to immediately drop the charges. Another 2 months. You know. So finally, to make a long story short, I end up getting an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal, which is not a guilty plea or an acknowledgement of guilt or anything. And I end up having to do 5 days community service. Now, community service, has anybody in here ever done any community service? You have? Okay.
Well, like by the court? Or like...
Yeah, by the court.
Oh, no.
Okay. No, I do community service 365 days a year, you know, so this was like a real contradiction to me. They have me doing community service. Now, the 13th Amendment says involuntary servitude and slavery is abolished except for those duly convicted of a crime. I hadn't been convicted of any crime, but they want to take 6 days a week, 6 hours a day for 5 days from me. And plus the transportation there, and, you know, I'm living in Yonkers, so I got to drive down to Harlem, then I got to park my car, then I got to catch the subway, then I got to get off the subway and walk 5 blocks. And then sit there and putting stickers on cards, you know, address stickers, for 6 hours. You know. And I hadn't committed any crime. So, you know, I stay in the state of rage while I'm down there. I'm like, I'm so mad. But the point is, that's a little bit about me personally, you know. But the issue that I'm really concerned about is after I started the company called Still Here Harlem Productions, my next step was to start a campaign called the Campaign to End the New Jim Crow, which is based on Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. How many of you have read that book? Anybody in the audience? 1, 2, 3. Jesus Christ, man. Hey, y'all gotta, y'all need a reality check. Read that book. Yeah, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. And it talks about this whole system, how it has actually turned back all the gains of the civil rights struggle. You know, the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 64, the Voting Rights Act of 65. You know, they have more people locked up and under control of the criminal justice system today than they had in slavery in 1855. More people than they had in slavery before the Civil War are locked up in cages. And over 60% of those are African Americans and Latinos, man. Poor people of color, you know. I'm really not prepared to, you know, to make you laugh, you know, shock you. I really was a little concerned about me even making a presentation here, you know. Because this audience, I'm looking out here at y'all, and y'all are on a track for an entirely different life than the life that I've led, right? Y'all are on a track for success, to be replacement parts of the machinery. Like the young brother spoke about his goal originally was to be on Wall Street. Wall Street, man. The kids in my community don't even think about Wall Street. You know, they don't think about going around the world to solve problems. You know, they're not concerned about feminism. You know, they're not concerned about none of these issues. They're concerned about survival. And this is happening right here in America, man. I mean, this is it's got to be the human rights issue of the century in this country, not only in this country, but around the world, man. You know, everywhere America goes, you know, like Johnny Appleseed, they're planting prisons. You know, they regulate. You know, right now, America exists in a bubble. And I don't know whether y'all see it or not, but every day the regulators are placing more and more regulations, man. There's absolutely, as soon as you step out the front door of your home, wherever you at, you are in a system of regulations that is unending. You know, and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And this bubble that we find ourselves in, this cage, man, they got cameras up everywhere. They even talking about bringing drones back. In Harlem, man, we got 5-foot towers that go up 5 stories high to observe the community. These towers were perfected in Iraq. And they brought them home to Harlem, in the Harlems of America. So I just want to say, you know, I hope I threw a wet blanket over over the happiness and the joy and, you know, the wonderful things that's been going on up here, because that's all I have for you. That's my reality, and that's the reality of the people I know. Thank you.